How's it going, my fellow Flesh and Blood fans? So, today I kind of want to start showing people how they can start deck building for themselves a little bit and not have to be so dependent on net decking as much. Reasoning why I think it's good to build something on your own is that you can possibly create some exciting interactions that other people are going to get thrown off by and aren't used to, and then they're not going to be prepped quite as well into your matchup. Also, I think it's fun to create things by yourselves, even if you're doing some fun shenanigans and whatnot. And reasoning why I'm doing this is because I have known some people that have a lot of trouble in trying to build a deck for themselves. So if you are someone that's interested, or you're just trying to find some ways to improve, hopefully I can give you some leadway into experiencing how to build things for yourself. So as you can see, we're going to do something for Classic Constructed. There are many heroes to choose from, as you can see, but I kind of was thinking about this on what would be the easiest, one of the easiest anyways, to start building, and I think Fang's going to be a really good choice here. I think Warrior is one of the easier heroes to kind of start picking up and playing, especially if you're a little bit newer. And I think with Fang, we're going to be able to build something without trying to figure out multiple things of building. Not saying he's a one mindset character, but I think we can limit to what we need to do here. So for deck name, let's just do Fang Gang, because that is a thing. We're going to just build it as completely decked out, something you want to play competitively. So, back to what we're saying, we're going to do Fang, Draconic Blades. So, his ability text, which is very important when you deck build, whenever you hit a marked hero, create a fealty token. If you control 3 or more fealty tokens, daggers cost you 1 less to activate. More times than not, you're trying to build a deck around your hero that really benefits with their ability text, as this is something that will always be relevant during your turns. 3 things that we're looking at is we're trying to find ways to mark the hero, and we're also trying to find ways to create a fealty token. So let's make that the first thing that we're going to try and build here. So we're going to start by looking for marked. We're just going to see what we have available to us. As you can see, it's only 1 page, so this makes it easy to just kind of start throwing things in here. And there's different ways to do it. You could be a lot more nitpicky and start reading them before you start throwing them in deck, but I just figured this would be a little bit of a simpler way for us. And of course, like always, for most players, February is the best way to start deck building and things like that. If you haven't noticed yet, there's a lot of good ways to do some marked stuff that is in red. At least for Fang, when it comes to yellows, I'm only going to start looking at the majestics, and that's more or less ways I do it when I'm deck building with certain heroes. That doesn't say that you don't want yellows in your deck. Sometimes that's just the way I like to kind of deck build, because unless you're a hero that really depends on yellows, it's probably going to be your smallest number count. Alright, and then with blues, this is where I'm going to get a little bit picky. I'm going to just make sure it isn't something that we already have in here. Because just with knowledge I already have, I know Fang mostly wants to redline. So the only blues I really want to throw in the deck is something we don't have access in red. Alright, and I think everything else we're fine. Okay. So you can see we're at 36 here, so we don't have a full deck yet. Now that we looked at Mark, which is here, now we're going to look and see if we can find things that make fealty that doesn't require us to mark a hero. So this is where we're going to start getting a little bit more picky with our card pool. Gotta make sure I know how to spell this right. Now we're gonna do fealty. As you see, some stuff that we already had that was marked is gone. And our card pool did get a lot smaller here. So we're just gonna look at some stuff here. This just makes a fealty token on demand, which is great. So we're gonna throw that in. Let's see what we got here. It's the same thing. Good chance we're just gonna throw everything in here. Cool. So we're gonna do that. If I created one, let's go again. That's kind of iffy. We're gonna throw that in the maybe slot because I'm not sure if we're gonna make that. Alright, that one's pretty much a no-brainer. And this does none of those things. So that's kind of why it's good to read some of those. The marked ones are different. Like we'll start thinning things out if we don't have a full deck at that point. Alright. So right now we're at 48, so we still got some room to spare. Since we are a warrior, weapons are a huge thing for them. So we're just going to simply look up warrior, and we're also going to look up Draconic because he is a Draconic warrior. So those are the weapons you're more likely to want to run. Alright, so we have Obsidian Fire Vein, which costs 1 to attack, but we already know with his ability, if we have 3 or more fealty tokens, they will be free. And if we play the Draconic card, this chain link, the attack gets +1 and go again. So now we're going to start trying to find things to fill out the deck that works around our weapons ability text. As you can see, it's a Draconic card from this chain link. We already see that Fang wants to play a lot of attack reactions, and we also got to make sure they're Draconic as well. So we're automatically going to throw 2 in here, and we're just going to see if there's any other weapons that we want to run. And as you can see, I don't see any. Let's see about regular Draconic. Okay. I kind of already knew this from the new set, but I wanted to look at this here. I was surprised it wasn't shown in the other search, but that's fine. So this is a once per turn action that costs 1 to attack with a spell void. So this one's kind of interesting. I think this is a way to kind of help you against arcane and stuff, kind of save you. Doesn't get the +1 buff, and doesn't have go again either. So that's interesting. For sure, I'm going to put 1 in inventory, and I think I'm going to throw 1 in the maybe slot to see if we want to run 2 of them. But I think this is pretty much going to be our weapon of choice, especially since there's ways we can swing with the dagger more than 2 times, I believe. Now that we know, we really want Draconic attack reactions. So to start filling out the rest of this deck, we're going to look up Draconic. We're also going to start with some reds because they're normally our biggest power attacks. And we're going to start looking for attack reactions. Okay, I see one here. It is Draconic. It seems relevant for us. So we're going to start throwing that in. Alright, not attack reactions. This is a attack reaction. That sounds fine to me. We're going to throw that in. That's just pretty good. We're going to throw that in there. That is a attack reaction. And this is an instant, so if we play that in the chain link, I'm pretty sure that counts. If I am wrong, let me know, but I'm pretty sure that does, as long as you're doing it during reaction steps. Yep, right there's something we can swing about 4 times. That's pretty excellent. Let's throw that in there. It's also an attack reaction, which is perfect. Alright, this is hard to see from the zoom, but that's another attack reaction we can throw in. So let's do that. Now we do have a second page here. It's also an attack reaction. See, we have some multiple things as well, which is pretty good. Okay, there's also another attack reaction. That sounds good. So even though it's an instant, so with this, more times than not, you're swinging once or twice. I don't know if that's going to help us with our build. So the instants, I kind of want to read a little bit and see if they're actually worth having or not. Searing Gaze seems fine. Surprised these didn't show up when we were looking up Mark. It does say that it marks them. But that's okay. I think we're going to have more cards than we need by the time I fill all this out. Like I said, pretty much if it's Draconic and it's an attack reaction, we're most likely going to want that in the deck. Alright, this is an instant. That's actually not too bad. Well, let's toss that in there. I don't know how long it'll stay because it doesn't block, but we'll see. Alright, so there's all our attack reactions. So now as you can see, we're up to 83 now. So at this point, we can kind of start looking at some things and see what we want to pull out. So to start, now that we know we want Draconic attack reactions in the chain link, we can start looking at some stuff that isn't Draconic or that isn't an attack reaction and kind of evaluate it a little bit. So Drop of Dragon Blood, I'm fine with. It's going to give it go again, give us a resource, which kind of allows us to pitch a red to swing both weapons. And we get to draw a card on top of it. Next we got this. This attacks a marked hero, create a fealty token. It does block for 3, and it doesn't cost us anything. So I'm going to kind of just keep this here for now. This costs 1. I don't think we're going to want that. So right now we're going to throw in the maybe slot in case we want to add it in later. If not, we can just remove it from there. This one attacks marks hero, create fealty, but it costs 2. Definitely going to want that. I don't think we're even going to want to put that in later, because a 2 cost is quite expensive for Fang. It's here when this attacks Arachne, mark them. So this is very hero specific. I think it was more for limited in the set, so we're going to end up getting rid of that fella. Play this only if you control 3 or more fealty tokens. And Dagger gets +4, and it's a 3 block. So I'm going to leave 3 in for the moment. And I probably shouldn't have even looked at this card considering that it's an attack reaction as Draconic. Alright, so we have Knife Through Butter. Next hit +4. Whenever you attack a marked hero this turn, the attack gets go again. Huh. I don't think we really care about that. Plus it's a 1 cost, so we're going to throw that in the maybe. It's because it does do stuff we kind of like, and making go again sounds interesting, so we'll see. For each Draconic chain link you control, choose 1. Target gets +2. They attack. Target danger time. That sounds really good. We're definitely going to want that. Which again, something I probably shouldn't have read, but sometimes that happens when you're just going through things. If you're more, you can't play this. Yeah, we can get rid of that. That just looks bad. That's good. Point of engagement. +3 until that turn. Attack is +1 while attacking a marked hero. I think we put that in the maybe. It's nice that it's a 0 cost, but we're trying to get rid of marks as soon as we mark them, so I don't know if we care as much. This marks opposing hero. Next time you attack a marked hero, it gets 3. But it's not Draconic. It does cost 1. So we're going to throw that in the maybe pile and just see how that goes. And next +4. Next time you hit a marked hero with a dagger this turn, draw a card. That sounds great. Even though it's not Draconic, it's a before attack and not reaction. I think we're going to want to keep this card because that sounds very good. So that's a way we can attack an extra time. But it blocks for 2. See, and that blocked for 3. That's what makes that so clutch. We're going to throw that in the maybe pile and see what we want to do there. To the point. 3 if the defending hero is marked. Instead it gets +4. I think we can do without that. But again, we'll throw in the maybe. It is a pretty powerful +4. Trampa is an instant, but gives next Electronic attack +3. So that's a way to get Fire Vein go again easy. And this is going to be the blue we're working on. If you are marked, you can't play this. Yeah, I think we can do without that as well. Even though it's a very, very minor downside, it's just something I'm not really interested in. Alright, so we have a few maybes, but right now we're at 53 for the deck. And we're pretty much running all reds. That sounds about right. So I think this time we're going to start looking at a lot more Draconic. And now we're going to look at some yellows here and see if we can find some majestics. No cards found. Okay. Let's see if we can find some warrior majestics. Alright, so there's Iron Song Determination. Target weapon gets +1 dominate until end of turn. That's very interesting. I think I want to throw that in. Even though it's not Draconic, I really like the idea of that. And that's a super rare, so that was from an older set that had those available. So Perforate, may attack with target dagger additional time. And its attacks cost you 1 less to activate this turn. And we draw. The 1 cost isn't the best, but I really like that. We're going to throw that in and see what happens. So this again, once we start throwing these majestics in, we'll start seeing what we want to do. Weapon attacks at +1. If they're greater than twice their base, they get go again. 0 cost for 3, that's pretty good. Again, it is a Draconic, but we'll have an interest in that. That we would not, because we definitely don't have a two-handed weapon. All that does is make go again agility, which we shouldn't have an issue with that. I think we can leave that be. Swing Blade, you may attack an additional time with target sword. We do not have swords, so that's not going to help. It costs 2 though. Ugh. The ability tech sounds great, but that 2 cost is definitely an eyesore. Alright, so that's everything we see there. So now I just want to double check if there's any majestic Draconic reds that we might like. What do we have here? And banish 2 cards in 1, 2, 3. That's nothing. I don't think we're really too worried about that. Both seems pretty good. I mean, we're more than likely going to be running Draconic cards, so I think we can do that. And that reminds me, I know there's only one of. I think Blaze Headlong would be a really good card to have. Even if we decide not to main deck it, if we need to go wide on some certain heroes, I think that's going to be good to have. Jarl isn't like super relevant. I don't think we need something like that. Draw a card. If you're royal set, draw 2. You may pitch 2 reds. If you don't, banish your hand. Yeah, I don't think we need anything like that. And what does this do? Next 4? Nah, we don't go that wide, so that's fine. Alright. So I think we have a pretty good base here. We don't have any blues, so we kind of need to double check those majestic wise. I know there's a couple. Alright, so we have provoke here. You're attacking with a weapons chain. That's really nice. I mean, the cost 1 isn't great, but it does block 3. It's a blue that we could use regardless if we want to use the pitch or not. Because once we're swinging our weapons for free, we kind of want to be paying for stuff as much. Okay, I think that's the only majestic blue. Was there like a super rare that I might have missed? Yep, okay, yeah, I did miss some. Alright, so we're going to be a little bit more thorough here. Turn a face down card from any arsenal face up. If it's a defense reaction, destroy it in your next weapon attack. Okay, so that's for a hero that we would know. Play a lot of defense reactions. So we might stick that in inventory. Okay, that's a majestic. Everyone go again, which doesn't really matter to us. The draw a card's really nice though. Even though it's not Draconic, I think we might want to run that. I think we can do without that, especially since it doesn't block. Okay, so I think we got everything there. We're just gonna check one more thing just in case here. Alright, there's no blue Draconics. Alright. So, again, because we're really dependent on Draconic stuff, this is when you're not really going to look at a generic pull too much. So we do have 74. Just before we start thinning that out, we're going to focus on the rest of our equipment sweep here. So this doesn't matter if it's Draconic or not. Brave Forge Bracers is a battle worn 2, which is nice. We're going to be really dependent on some equipment blocking us out a little bit, because we're going to want to keep cards in hand. Hits, you pay 1 if you do create bigger. I know a lot of people run that. That is really good. And that's about your next sword attack. Maybe you should double read this. That says your sword attacks, alright, not daggers. So yeah, we're getting rid of that fella. That doesn't matter, that's just weapon attacks. Good authority. That's definitely good into the mirrors. That's something we could put in inventory. Red alerts are all attack reaction stuff. We're not too worried about trying to get stuff to go again. Ballot Dynamos is really good. Blade Flurry is really nice, but it's not Draconic, and I think we're at a good spot at the moment. I think we're going to leave that out, as crazy as you might think I am about that. So sometimes that's nice when you're checking on equipment, you might stumble on something, but as you can tell, it's something I kind of want to stay away from. We are missing a headpiece, so this is when we can start looking at maybe some Draconic equipment. And let's look at this. Go again. I think we're okay with that. Go again is something we're really dependent on. That's very interesting. I don't know if anybody's running that card, but that's something we can kind of look into. Just because grains just might be better. Alright, so we're still missing a headpiece, so let's go into the generic pool now. This is when we can start looking at some generic equipment. Crown of Promise could be good, for sure. We're not worried about starting with a gold, so Dominion doesn't matter as much. Tunic is always something of an option. No, it's always bad. Generic as well. Alright, and then we're just getting into the reds. Alright, so I guess that answers our question. The only headpiece really worth running is going to be Crown of Providence. And we have Kabutos in the sideboard if needed. Arm pieces here, I see we have this and Stonewall. I think because this has Battle Worn and we can use that resource, I think it will just be the better arm piece. Legs, we got one set of legs. It's Valiant Dynamo, which is a really good leg piece. Chest-wise, we have a few options. So I like these two because they have Temper and Tunic does not, so we're going to swipe that out. And we have this. Make it bigger, which is nice. It gains a red for each in pitch zone. You know what's really interesting is I think both these are somewhat similar. But this does have a May. This has a little bit more of a workaround. So I think kind of like what most people are running, we're going to end up running the brains. Instead of removing that, let's put flame scale in the maybe section. You can see we have 85. Definitely have a lot of maybes here, but we're trying to slim things down here a bit. We have 74. We're gonna want to keep the blues we have here. The yellows we can kind of double check. This is stuff that's relying on go again, so we can throw that into maybe. I do really like that, so even though it costs 1, draw a card's really good. And if we do need it for the dagger swings, we'll be good there. So what, 3, 6, 9, at least 12. So we'll keep that. Savor Bloodshed's really good. 3, 6, 9. That is 15. I think we could maybe do one less. Or, you know what, I think we can get rid of Iron Song. It does just do Dominate. I think we can do that and work with this. So, like we were saying before, I think Blaze is more of a situational thing, so we can put that in the inventory. We're sitting at 65. We're not over our 80 card limit now, which is going to be good for us. Let's start looking at some things that might cost us to play. Okay, so we have this. Players only control 2 or more chain links. It gets +4. That is really good. Not caring for the cost though. So let's put 1 in the maybe and just run 2. That costs us 2, but 1 less for each Draconic and it gets +3. It also blocks for 2, so I think we can get rid of that. This costs 1. Right there is +3. Control 2 more. Create Fealty, which is something we really want. This here is only buffing. I think we're going to hold on to that and maybe throw this in a maybe pile. That's just really good. This here, So it has to be marked to create the fealty, so I think we can get rid of that. Now our deck's starting to open up, which is a good thing. Cost 0. Good there. This costs 1, but 1 less for each Draconic chain link. So that's something to remember. Even though it costs 1, we're automatically going to have a Draconic in the first swing, so that ends up costing 0. We're good here. That's just insanely good. That as well could be situational. So let's throw that in inventory. That's really good. That's really good. It's also really good. Place only, that's fine. Blocks 3, which is great. Yeah, I think we could do without that too. Let's throw that in the maybe section. That we really like. Think we should hold on to that. So this doesn't block, so maybe we can throw that into a maybe for now. Alright. So it looks like everything. We definitely cut out some cards here. We have 47 in deck. And we have a lot of maybes which we can start adding in for filler. But right now we're going to focus on our inventory a little bit. So right now we're going to look for some null rune stuff for AB. Which is why we already have Claw for Sarakai. The dynamos won't mean much for most matches of that sort. So let's throw that in inventory. I think Crown will still always be relevant except into the Kano matchups. So I think as far as headpieces go, let's go into the generic. Oh, we gotta get rid of that wording. Balance of Justice is always a really good card for that, considering he's going to draw 2 cards, and that will help. Grains will always be relevant, and Rage Forge will always be relevant. So I think going AB1 with the Spell Void might be okay, but I think just in case we might want to throw AB2 in case of some certain matchups, which if anything we're always going to want grains, so we could throw a no gloves in. So I'm definitely liking our inventory. We know there's a few situationals we could do. Oasis Respite would be good, but we don't really like pitching into things. So Oasis Respite does cost 1. I think this Arcane Polarity is going to be better because it costs 0 and it's going to typically do the same thing, even though you do need to be dealt the arcane damage first. But I think that's something we can work around. Till the turn, effects can't increase arcane damage. That target action card stack. Okay, so that can be really good into like Verdance. Let's do that. Let's just check Amp just in case. Because I know Acilio and Burns run it. Okay, so we're not worried about that. Okay, I like that. So I guess another thing we could do as well is look into some D-reacts. The Loyalty of the Grave does block for 3. I think we want things that more block for 4. But we'll see. We're going to look for defense. Oops. I did spell that. Did spell that wrong. There we go. Shelter of the Storm is really great. I think we need to put that in regardless. It's just so flexible. So we're at 76. I think I prefer the sink belows. We can throw those in. This is when you gotta think a little bit and see what you might want to do. Brothers in Flame isn't bad. I like that. I like Brothers in Flame better. I think we just might do Tooth of the Dragon, even though it doesn't block. I like what it does. You know what? We'll just throw one in there. So as far as non-blocks in deck, we have 1, 3, 4, 5, which is fine. We're not really trying to block, but it's just nice to know in case we get on a back foot. I think I'm okay with this as a start. Definitely have a big chunk of maybes. We have a pretty large inventory, and we are going to main board 48, which does give us a lot of flexibility. 48. Yeah, but that only gives us 54 that we want to sub in as far as all that goes. Huh. Alright, so this is when we need to finagle a little bit. So we're going to put 2 more of these in. I think we're going to get rid of the sink belows. And we have 1 we could throw in. Yeah, we'll throw in an Iron Song in inventory in case we do run into some heavy blocking. Actually, let's throw 2 or 3 in there. Let's maybe pop one of these polarities out. Alright, so now we're at 50. Look here, 3, 6, 7, 8. And then, yeah, depending on some matchups, we could always throw some shelters in for D-reacts. I feel satisfied with this. A lot of times you are going to throw these in the deck regardless. But in case you're worrying about 8B, obviously this is more for defense react decks. And then that's more for assassins, things like that. So I'm pretty happy with this. This is what I'm going to stick with. Yep, this is what I'm going to start off with. Obviously your builds are going to change over time, but I think this was the simplest way. As you can see, there's always going to be decisions you have to make when you're building, and that can always go down to personal preference. Also didn't realize how long this video was going to be, so I think I'm going to leave it at this. I'll make another video later to make more of a budget version, and then that's what I'm going to bring into my armory on Sunday and see how the budget version goes. And then you can use this as a reference as far as like a big deck out. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time with a more budget build for Fang Drakai of Blades. Take care.